Hi guys, I just want to introduce myself really quick. I know that you watched a video yesterday on the introduction to the class, but I want to give you an introduction to me before I go into what this class is all about. Basically, I have been teaching at PA Virtual since October of 2014. That's probably like a year and a half. I'm going on my third technical year here. I've been teaching fine art since my very first year here. I went full-time last year, so I'm a full-time teacher at PA Virtual, and I teach a couple other classes that you might also have with me. I am a graduate from Geneva College. I have an undergraduate in elementary education, but I really wanted to do art, so I actually spent a semester abroad in Italy to sort of come up with my art credits. So a lot of the things that we cover in this class I've actually seen in person, so that's really cool. I absolutely love art. I love to talk about it. I'm trying to get a couple of cool things started at the school. But basically, I am really excited to start a brand new year with my students at PA Virtual, and I'm excited to meet you all. Now that you have had a chance to look over your class responsibilities and know what you'll be responsible for completing on your own time, I want to kind of go over the things that we'll cover in lecture and a basic overview of the course, why it's important, what kind of things will we study, and what kind of questions will we ask and answer. So, like I mentioned yesterday in your first video, this class is ultimately an art history class. So I don't know if you've ever had an art history class before. Maybe you've come from another school. Maybe you're familiar with it. Maybe you're not. But the first question that we're going to answer is, why does art history matter? Some people might say that it doesn't. Some people might say that it's not really useful information that you need to know. But I would disagree with that. And I hope that by the end of this course, you disagree with that as well. Sometimes I think about, why don't a lot of adults like going to art museums? Maybe you like going to art museums, maybe your parents like going to art museums, but a lot of adults don't. Why? Why do they think that that's boring? Why would you think that that's boring? I guess that the main reason is that people don't really know what they're looking at. You go to an art museum and you might know a few things just from some basic knowledge, but if you've never taken an art history course and you try to go to an art museum and you look at a picture on the wall without really understanding what you're looking at, you're going to be bored. I don't want you to think that this class is about just learning a million facts about art history. I want you to go through this class, and at the end of it, I want you to know a little bit about art history. I want you to do well in your quizzes, and I want you to get a good grade, but ultimately, what I'm really trying to teach you is how to stand in front of a piece of art that you've never seen before and appreciate it. How to look at a piece of art in a critical way, in an intelligent way, that you can see its value even if you don't love it. So, how can I teach you to see the virtue in art? How can I teach you to have an intelligent conversation about a piece of art? How can I teach you to create your own art and have it be just as impactful and original as famous pieces of art? That's what I'm teaching you, more than just what's in the online school. So, do I want you to know about Michelangelo and Picasso? Absolutely. I think that they are amazing. I think that they're inspirational. I think that there's a lot to know there. That would be nice if at the end of this course you remember everything that I said and taught you about Michelangelo and Picasso. But I also want to teach you how to relate to famous artists. These were real people like you and me, that end up creating art that at times changed the world. I want to teach you how to relate to just the human mind, there's so much psychology and historical context and and just world events wrapped up in art history. It doesn't have a whole lot to do with just pieces of art and looking at it as what is this person a skilled painter or not. You'll find that art history is a lot more than just that. Some of these people that we're going to study, like Michelangelo and Raphael, they were geniuses. Leonardo da Vinci is an absolute genius. He invented so many things that we use today, and even something so interesting as the fact that he wrote his notebooks backwards. You could only read them by using a mirror. Those are the kind of things that I want to teach you, the kind of things that stick with you. Some of these people were living in really difficult times. Some of the people that create the pieces of art that we're going to talk about, like Picasso's Guernica, or we're going to talk about the art of the Romantic period, like Liberty Leading the People, and we'll talk about the slave ship is a good example, or the raft of the Medusa. Some of these people were living in really difficult times throughout history, throughout world history. How did they cope? A lot of times they use their art to show emotion or to take a stance. And sometimes the circumstances of their lives and what time that they were born came out on canvas, and it became almost a way to show how they were a product of the time that they were living in. And we're going to cover that a lot more. So here's some questions that I'm going to answer for you this semester, and I hope that you're listening carefully enough to hear the answer. So, why are cave paintings important? If it's just a bunch of cows on a wall, why should we care about it? Are you guys asking questions like this? I know that maybe you've thought this in your head and you've never said it out loud. Why do Egyptian paintings look so stiff and robotic? They have their hands glued to their sides. Why is that? Why do they do that? Why do they choose to draw people in that way? Why do buildings in ancient Rome look so similar to Washington, D.C.? What was it about the ancient Romans and the ancient Greeks that had such an influence on early America? Why do medieval paintings of babies in particular look so scary? What about early Renaissance art? Some of it is slightly disturbing and it doesn't look like it's very skilled. So why do people put it in museums like it's so important? Why did they choose to draw people that way? What was it about the way that art was taught at that time that caused people to create things that didn't look that nice? What was the Renaissance all about? I know that you studied the Renaissance in probably math and science and in history, but specifically with art, why is it so important? What is it about Michelangelo's David that is so very cool? What is it about the Sistine Chapel that's so amazing? And it's not just Michelangelo. What is it about Leonardo da Vinci or Botticelli that is so very interesting? What's the big deal, basically? Why is the Mona Lisa so famous? You see the Mona Lisa everywhere, and if you actually saw it in person, it's this tiny little painting. So why is the world so focused and obsessed with the Mona Lisa? And what would she look like if she were cleaned? There's a hint. She actually has eyebrows. She actually looks completely different if you were to restore her down to the original version. So why won't they do it? These are the kind of questions I'm going to answer for you. Why are Baroque paintings so dark? Why do Rembrandt paintings have just, it's all black and then just a few highlights? What is the big deal with the Impressionists? What's with all the flowers and the water lilies? Why is that cool? Why do we still care about a bunch of paintings of flowers? And why did Picasso paint people with their eyes messed up and on all the wrong places? What's with Salvador Dali? He's kind of in the 20th century. Why are we having pictures of melting clocks? That's the the top of your class website. Why were there melting clocks? Why did he paint elephants on stilts? What was Salvador Dali thinking, and what was he trying to say? So, when we talk about each movement, one of the things that I want to do is cover a few of the basics. So, what are the main characteristics of the movement? How can you tell a Renaissance painting from an Impressionist painting? When did it take place? What was going on in the world at the time that caused art to kind of take that turn? Who are the major artists of the movement? When were they born? When did they die? What was their motivation? What were they trying to say? What were they really passionate about? And what did they leave behind? When people think of Picasso, or when they think of Renoir, what were they? What do they remember the most? What were the most important pieces of every movement, and created by each artist? And what did this effect have on future art periods and future generations? And the last thing that I really want you to think about is, what will future generations think about us? You know, we all have our little place in history, and time will move on. So when future generations, when your children look at art that happened in the early part of the 21st century, what are they going to think about you? What is the art that's happening right now going to say about what the world is going through? And can we discover some of that art, some of the art that's out there now that might have a lasting moment in history? What art is saying something about who we are? And are you going to be the kind of people that create it? So, your very first writing assignment is a little bit broad and a little bit vague, but I left it that way on purpose because I want you to really think about it. So, the question is, what is art? How would you define art? What makes a piece art? Is the scribbles that you made when you were in kindergarten, is that art? Can trash be art? Is a simple advertisement art, like the Coke label or a logo? Is that art? I want you to be able to think about that critically, and answer that in your writing assignment. What makes it good? What makes art bad or good? What is modern art? Sometimes modern art can be just a couple of paint splatters or a couple of scribbles. Is that good art? And if it is good art, who decides what is good art and what isn't good art? Do you think that there's some sort of world committee that decides that this is important and good and should be put in a museum? What makes that better than what I might create? I'm not. I'm an artist too, but I'm not exactly famous. So, what makes art good or bad? Um, that's the kind of question that I want you to answer, and I am looking forward to having a really great semester with you.